Please remain seated as the information we are about to share possesses the capacity to profoundly transform your economic situation. The Social Security Administration has formally announced a groundbreaking modification in policy, a historic and enduring enhancement to your monthly payments, and the official computations are now accessible to the public. Let us make this unequivocally clear. This is not a temporary stimulus check or a momentary fiscal remedy. What we are addressing here is a confirmed, lifelong increase that will build value throughout your entire existence. Throughout this detailed examination, we will navigate you through exactly what this evolution means for your individual financial circumstances. We will scrutinize the revised average monthly disbursement and supply you with the resources necessary to compute the precise amount of your personal raise. We are discussing a meaningful enhancement here, potentially hundreds or perhaps thousands of supplementary dollars in your possession every year. Yet, that is simply the starting point. We are additionally going to disclose various subtle aspects that are not receiving widespread coverage. For illustration, what is the direct effect of this adjustment on your Medicare costs? What are the consequences for individuals who have not yet started collecting their benefits? And crucially, what actions can you undertake to ensure you are obtaining the highest sum you are legally qualified to receive? The knowledge presented here is critically significant for every person presently obtaining or arranging to obtain Social Security benefits. It is essential that you do not neglect the funds you have legitimately earned. If your objective is to stay informed and proactive in handling your monetary future, we urge you to keep viewing. You understood correctly. This is not a temporary financial benefit or merely an electoral promise. It symbolizes a landmark, permanent modification to your Social Security earnings. For many years, we have observed cost of living adjustments that offered only slight reprieve against the sharp increase in everyday expenditures. Those modest annual increases seldom kept pace with the escalating cost of necessities such as food, gasoline, and utility services. The situation we are addressing today, however, is fundamentally different. This represents a structural transformation, a recalculation that creates a notably higher baseline for your future payments. It extends beyond simple inflation corrections. This is a much-delayed recognition of the intense economic difficulties confronting older citizens and individuals with disabilities throughout our country. Our team has spent weeks thoroughly examining official government records, consulting with financial experts, and interpreting the intricate information so you can avoid the effort. We have compiled all our findings here for you. There will be no confusing charts or specialized language. Only simple, understandable facts regarding the extra money that will soon be deposited into your bank account. This logically leads to the inquiry, what is the origin of this supplementary funding? It is entirely reasonable to approach this with some doubt. Actually, we recommend it. We have all observed commitments made previously that eventually failed to happen. This circumstance, however, is different. Nevertheless, this specific increase is different. Its source lies within the fundamental equation that the Social Security Administration uses to calculate your benefit amounts. As you might know, the standard yearly cost of living adjustment is typically derived from the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. This gauge monitors the average price changes for a typical assortment of goods and services. For numerous years, advocacy organizations have argued that this particular gauge fails to correctly reflect the genuine spending habits of the elderly demographic. Retirees typically dedicate a substantially larger portion of their income to medical costs, a category that this specific gauge poorly represents. This basic inconsistency has produced years of adjustments that felt inadequate because they were computed using an incorrect assessment of your actual living costs. Currently, a fresh legislative measure has been implemented that permanently modifies this computation approach. It incorporates a newly designed, more suitably weighted index that specifically addresses the expenses that disproportionately impact older populations. This revised formula is now a lasting component of the Social Security system structure. This signifies a monumental and essential correction, a formal recognition of the monetary realities you experience. This is not a temporary economic stimulus. It is a long overdue directional shift, an official admission that the prior method was failing to correspond with the genuine economic challenges seniors confront on a routine basis. Now, let us analyze the monetary particulars. This is the instant you have been waiting for. What does this historic modification translate to in concrete dollars? Because this constitutes a lasting reconfiguration of the foundation, the total impact is significant. Our team has executed the computations, and the results are impressive. Reflect, as an example, on a typical retiree who was previously obtaining a monthly benefit of roughly $1,800. Under the previous system, a favorable yearly adjustment might have contributed an extra $50 or $60 to that amount, sufficient to offer minor relief, but definitely not life-altering. With the implementation of this new enduring increase, that same person is now projected to obtain a monthly payment closer to $2,100. This represents an additional $300 per month, which translates to an extra $3,600 on a yearly basis. Spend a moment considering what this could mean for your individual circumstances. Maybe it would be adequate to pay your yearly property tax obligation. Perhaps it could function as a financial reserve for unexpected vehicle or residence repair costs. Possibly it could grant the chance to visit your grandchildren without the persistent worry about the price of plane tickets. This enhancement grants you greater financial freedom and helps reduce the financial stress that countless retirees face continuously. And honestly, that feeling of security is priceless. Let us examine another hypothetical scenario. Picture a married pair where one spouse is presently collecting a benefit based on the other's income record. Let us suppose a situation where the primary earner obtains a monthly benefit of $2,200 and their partner is qualified for a spousal benefit equivalent to half of that, which provides them with a combined household income from Social Security of $3,300. Following this permanent adjustment, their total household income has the capacity to increase substantially, potentially surpassing $3,800 per month. That signifies an extra $500 entering their household every single month. For countless couples who have been cautiously managing their finances on a set income, this enhancement could provide significant monetary relief. However, here is the most crucial detail to comprehend. This increase is assured for the remainder of your life. The elevated sum becomes your new baseline benefit. Consequently, when next year's cost of living adjustment is determined, it will be computed based on this higher foundation. Your benefits will not merely catch up to inflation. They will start to accumulate from a substantially stronger starting point. This establishes a compounding effect, guaranteeing your financial security expands over time and offering improved protection against rising costs for the rest of your life. This is exactly the kind of lasting security the Social Security program was originally intended to provide, and it is now finally being achieved. Nevertheless, whenever substantial changes occur within federal benefits, there are always subtleties that can influence how much of this increase you ultimately keep. One vital factor you must comprehend is the effect this adjustment may have on your Medicare expenses. For the majority of beneficiaries, Medicare Part B premiums are automatically deducted from their Social Security payment. Because this benefit increase is so substantial, it could potentially move some individuals into a higher income bracket, which would trigger the income-related monthly adjustment amount. This represents an additional surcharge for beneficiaries with higher incomes, and it could directly affect the amount you pay for your Medicare coverage. There is, however, a positive aspect to consider. For most individuals, the hold harmless provision will offer protection. This regulation ensures that your Social Security payment will not decrease as a result of rising Medicare premiums. However, due to the magnitude of this benefit increase, a greater number of people may find themselves surpassing those income thresholds, potentially leading to higher Part B premiums. It is absolutely vital to understand how this mechanism functions so you can avoid unexpected reductions. Additionally, if you have undergone a significant life event such as retiring or losing a spouse, you may have grounds to appeal that income determination. Another crucial element to consider involves taxation. Regrettably, yes, your Social Security benefits may be subject to federal income tax. The Internal Revenue Service employs a calculation known as your combined income to assess whether your benefits will be taxed. If you file your taxes as an individual and your combined income falls between $25,000 and $34,000, you may be required to pay taxes on up to 50% of your Social Security benefits. Should your combined income exceed $34,000, Up to 85% of your benefits could become taxable. For married couples filing jointly, the income thresholds are somewhat higher. This represents an important consideration for your financial planning. With this new adjustment taking effect, a larger segment of the population may find themselves paying taxes on their Social Security benefits for the first time. Furthermore, for those already paying taxes on their benefits, a larger portion of their monthly payment may now be subject to taxation. It would be prudent to consult with a qualified tax advisor to determine whether voluntarily withholding taxes from your monthly benefit payments is a sensible strategy, thereby preventing any unexpected liabilities when you file your annual tax return. Now, for those individuals currently receiving benefits, the pressing question is undoubtedly when this adjustment will appear in your bank account. The Social Security Administration is implementing these modifications gradually over the coming months, and the exact timing will be determined by your established payment schedule, which is generally organized around your birth date. The most reliable method to verify your individual payment information is to navigate to the official Social Security website and access your personal account through their secure portal. This point cannot be emphasized enough. Exercise extreme caution. Do not trust unsolicited phone calls, emails, or text messages that claim to originate from the Social Security Administration. Unfortunately, fraudulent actors will exploit this news for their own gain. They may attempt to deceive you into believing that you must pay a processing fee or disclose sensitive personal data to activate your enhanced benefit amount. This is unequivocally a scam. The increase is applied automatically, and you will never be required to pay any amount to receive it. The sole sources for accurate, trustworthy information are the official government website or your neighborhood Social Security field office. For individuals approaching retirement, particularly those in their early to mid-60s, this significant increase fundamentally alters the decision-making process regarding when to begin collecting benefits. This choice has always presented a complex trade-off. You can elect to claim benefits early at age 62, accepting a permanently reduced monthly amount. Alternatively, you can wait until your full retirement age, or you can delay benefits until age 70 to receive the maximum possible monthly payment. With this new enhancement now in effect, the option of claiming early becomes potentially more appealing than it was previously because the reduced amount you would receive is now calculated from a substantially higher baseline figure. Conversely, for those who choose to wait until age 70, your delayed retirement credits will be applied to this new elevated benefit amount, ultimately yielding a significantly larger monthly payment. Now, if you are currently receiving Social Security disability insurance or supplemental security income, this development brings excellent news for you as well. Disability recipients operate under the same benefit system as retirees, meaning you will receive the identical permanent increase. For those receiving supplemental security income, the mechanics are somewhat different, but you will still experience an increase in your federal benefit rate thanks to the advocacy and political pressure that help drive this change. This represents more than just a bureaucratic adjustment. It is a genuine victory for millions of disabled Americans, formally acknowledging that individuals unable to work should not be forced to subsist in poverty. For those receiving both disability benefits and supplemental income, it is important to understand that an increase in your disability payment could potentially result in a slight reduction in your supplemental payment. However, because the disability increase is so substantial, the vast majority of recipients will still realize a net financial gain. Finally, we must address a critical issue: safeguarding your benefits. Fraudsters will be targeting you with increased intensity, employing increasingly sophisticated methods to steal your personal information. They may contact you via email, telephone, or text message, falsely representing themselves as Social Security Administration officials and claiming you must verify your personal details to access your new benefits. Please remember this fundamental rule. The Social Security Administration will never initiate contact with you in this manner. The increase is entirely automatic. Always navigate directly to the official website for verified information. This change is indeed monumental, but it also carries new responsibilities for every beneficiary. By remaining well-informed and maintaining vigilance, you can ensure you are maximizing your Social Security benefits and securing your long-term financial well-being. To further illustrate the profound impact of this change, it is helpful to consider the real-world implications for various demographic groups. For instance, take a single retiree living in a rural area. This individual, let us call her Margaret, is 72 years old and has been relying on her Social Security check as her primary source of income for the past decade. Prior to this adjustment, Margaret was receiving approximately $1,650 per month. After accounting for her modest rent, utility bills, and grocery expenses, she often found herself with very little left over for unexpected costs, let alone leisure activities or savings. The new permanent increase has boosted her monthly payment to nearly $2,000. For Margaret, this extra $350 each month is transformative. It means she can finally afford to replace her aging refrigerator, which has been on the verge of breaking down for months. It means she can purchase the generic version of her medications without having to choose between them and her electricity bill. It also means she can accept her daughter's invitation to visit for the holidays, a trip she has had to decline for the past 3 years due to financial constraints. This is not just extra money. It is a restoration of dignity and connection. Another group that stands to benefit significantly is widows and widowers. Losing a spouse is an emotionally devastating experience, and it is often compounded by a sudden and drastic reduction in household income. Consider the case of Robert, a 68-year-old widower. His late wife was the primary earner, and after her passing, Robert's household income from Social Security dropped by nearly half. He was forced to move to a smaller apartment and cut back on almost all non-essential spending. The new permanent increase applied to his survivor benefits has provided a crucial buffer. The extra funds allow him to maintain his current living situation without constant anxiety and even set aside a small amount each month for future home maintenance. It is a lifeline that helps him navigate his grief without the added burden of financial ruin. For families raising grandchildren, a growing trend in the United States, this increase is equally vital. Many grandparents find themselves unexpectedly becoming primary caregivers, often on a fixed income that was never intended to support a child. The costs of food, clothing, school supplies, and extracurricular activities can quickly overwhelm a retiree's budget. The substantial boost in monthly benefits provides these families with the breathing room they desperately need. It can mean the difference between a child being able to participate in a school sport or having to go without. It can ensure that a grandparent can afford nutritious food for a growing teenager instead of relying on cheaper, less healthy options. This policy change recognizes the diverse and often challenging realities of modern American families and provides tangible support where it is needed most. Furthermore, the psychological impact of this financial security cannot be overstated. Chronic financial stress has been linked to a host of negative health outcomes, including high blood pressure, depression, and a weakened immune system. For years, countless seniors have lived with a persistent, low-grade anxiety about their financial future. Will they outlive their savings? Will they be able to afford long-term care if they need it? Will they become a burden on their children? By providing a permanent, substantial increase to their monthly income, this policy effectively alleviates a significant portion of that stress. It restores a sense of control and predictability to their lives, allowing them to focus on their health, their relationships, and their personal fulfillment rather than constantly worrying about their next dollar. This is a holistic improvement to their quality of life that extends far beyond the simple act of depositing more money into a bank account. It is also important to consider the broader economic ripple effects. When millions of seniors suddenly have more disposable income, they are likely to spend it within their local communities. This increased spending supports local businesses, from grocery stores and pharmacies to restaurants and repair shops. It creates demand for goods and services, which can, in turn, support local jobs. A senior who can now afford to eat out once a week is supporting a local waiter or cook. A senior who can now afford to hire a teenager to mow their lawn is putting money directly into the pocket of a young person in their neighborhood. This injection of spending power into local economies can have a stimulating effect, benefiting communities across the nation. It is a virtuous cycle where a federal policy change translates into tangible, on-the-ground economic activity, strengthening the social and economic fabric of towns and cities from coast to coast. In conclusion, while the mechanics of the benefit calculation and the warnings about fraud are critically important, it is equally essential to understand the human dimension of this change. It is about Margaret being able to visit her daughter. It is about Robert maintaining his independence. It is about grandparents being able to provide for their grandchildren. It is about millions of Americans being able to age with dignity, security, and peace of mind. This permanent increase is more than a number on a government form. It is a foundational shift in the financial landscape for an entire generation, and its positive consequences will be felt for decades to come.